The boys are very much back in town, and after a very good Friday, we're here to have a good discussion about Northampton Saints. This is the Beneath the Lift Tower podcast. My name's Charles McGillivray. I'm joined by Jess Kevill.
Hello.
And Simon Stacey.
Hello.
And we will today, as the podcast goes on, this is our first episode, but as it goes on, we will be looking at the rugby in some detail, looking at the games just gone, the games upcoming, and then discussing everything and anything that relates to Northampton Saints. Let's get started. Starting with, what a good Friday that was. What do you reckon?
Incredible. I think we start even just with the atmosphere. Absolutely incredible atmosphere. It's been, I think, I can maybe count on my hand the amount of times that I felt like an atmosphere that good in Franklin's Gardens, and that's high up on the list.
Friday night under the lights is always the same at the Gardens, isn't it? Especially against a big side that we don't really like.
Yeah. I think this season, more than the last previous seasons, it's been rising. There has been a few moments during games when you just you get those sort of the hairs on your back, your neck, and all that sort of stuff. The voice of the crowd and everything is really lifted this year, and that's because the play's lifted, the talent on the pitch and the performances. They're really they're willing to get behind a side that's performing. It was amazing. The atmosphere was phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it was. We can be honest. Was it the most perfect 80-minute performance we've put together? No. But you think back, obviously, to last week, and not going to dwell on that too much. It was an off week. I think they've said that in interviews. It was an off week, and they tried not to think about it too much because they know that's not what the team is like. But yeah, it wasn't absolutely perfect. Still some kind of individual errors that gave them points that I think without, we would have made them look very, very average on the scoreboard. So I think they were much better. We were much better than the kind of 30 points that we gifted them.
The scoreboard does not reflect the game one iota, I don't believe.
No.
2 silly charged, 2 tries at the end when everyone's tired. That could have been a 40 plus to 3 to 5 points. We gave them at least 20.
No, I agree. I think in reality we absolutely battered them, and I think in the player for player, if you go through the team and look at every single Saints player outperformed their opposite number. Yeah. But then you look at the sort of the difference in the way the teams perform together, the units within the team, the scrum. I thought some decisions didn't go away, but I thought our scrum was incredibly solid. That unit was working better. The connectivity in defence was so much on point compared to Saracens. Saracens' defence was pretty slack, really, all over the place. Some of those holes where we carved them up, they just shouldn't be there.
No, I mean Alex Cole's getting in for the first try. You could even see on his face the surprise of not coming up against a single defender, just popping in under the sticks, piece of pie. It was not what you expect. It's what you expect from us. We're good at identifying the gaps and we're good at getting through. It's just not what you expect from a Saracen side, that the gaps are so blatantly there.
I think they analysed the Harlequins game and watched how Sarries play, because we literally defended the exact same set plays and they were never breaking that line. Never.
No.
We clearly seen how they attack, and they nullified every single attack. I was never worried. Before I turned up, I was really worried. I thought we were going to get our bottoms kicked, but I was just stunned at the end. We absolutely outplayed them in every different department on the pitch. And Finn Smith, wow, what a player that boy.
Yeah, I was going to say some of those gaps that we carved open, a lot of them were down to Finn Smith. Would he get 3 assists? And the sort of the beauty of the ball, that the assists that he's putting in, their timing is just perfection. That Alex Cole's was the first one. Jamie George shoots out the line trying to win a contact on a fly half, right? And he just leaves this great hole open for Alex Coles to slide into. But Finn Smith just reads it, perfect timing. There you go, walk in the park. Next one was the Rambo one. Elliot Tompkins shot in, Elliot Daly, big gap open, ran. All right, I'll have that, not a problem. And then the other one was the Tommy Freeman one where they lost Lewington, so they were a man short in the backs. But that move they put on with the long pass, the pass back to James off the line out, that long whip out to Dingwell, takes it to line, back out to Finn Smith, and then it's like a 3 or 4 on 1 out wide, and he again, timing is just perfection.
I think
it looks so simple. It's such a simple thing, but to do it, the composure and the talent, he outshone Owen Farrell. And I'm not someone who criticises Owen Farrell. I think Owen Farrell is a phenomenal fly half who's had a phenomenal career. But Finn Smith completely outclassed him. He was levels above him.
Yeah, I think there has to be a word to say that I think, again, we don't know about anyone's motives in a team that isn't ours. We don't even know about the motives of our team most of the time. But Farrell looks like a player who's ready to leave. And I think that stood out massively in that game. I was very surprised at certain things that he did, without again wanting to criticize too heavily, because he's been through a lot in this country and he's made it very clear that he's been struggling with comments that people have made and attitudes towards him. So I totally get it from that perspective. But he does, and again, this is not to take away from Finn Smith. He was the man of the match by a very, very big margin. But I think he's but I think he's a player is ready to move on. And I think it's probably quite a difficult thing knowing that you're ready to move on as well.
Yeah. I think, it is what it is. I think Saracens are a whole aren't the team that they were. I think a number of their players, I don't want to hark on about salary caps and whatnot, but I think a number of their players that are in that side had their reputations probably boosted above what their actual ability was, purely because they were surrounded by world-class talent. If you bring in Will Skelton into your side, everyone looks better. And so, you get picked for international sides because you've been playing well in this really good, dominant domestic team. Whereas reality is, talent-wise, you're not at the level that you sort of reputation things. For me, the man of the match, right? You say Finn Smith at level. I disagree, right? For me, man of the match was Ollie Slytime. That lad has become the beast he was destined to become. He's just phenomenal.
He is, yeah. No, I'll grant you.
I'm not trying I think he could have actually made that try. When he ran through about 8 defenders. I think if he took the tackle and I reckon he just looked for an offload. I was like, I reckon you can make that. But yeah, what a run that was.
Yeah, I remember.
My feet, I was like, come on, Ollie.
Yeah, I remember watching it back, because obviously we watched it at the ground, not on the telly, but we watched it back afterwards, and Austin Healey lost his mind. As he went through defenders, you could just hear them loving it in the background, and you do wish he'd been the one that got over the line. I mean, he scored a try, didn't he, later on, but I mean, at that point it was him against Earl, and Ben Earl's absolutely fantastic, but he's not catching home in that situation. But I think that's another person we should talk about, though, in terms of potential man of the match, is Dingwall. I watched that back. How many things he does that nobody notices but are so crucial to setting up tries. Like, we talk about the Finn Smith pass to set Freeman up, but actually it's the Dingwall pass when he knows a huge tackle is coming that he gives to Smith that then allows for that to happen. And the same thing with the slight home try in the second half. Like, he saw that ball go down on the ground, reacted instantaneously to pick it up, off he went, chucked the ball off to his left, and he sets up another one. So I still think that Finn Smith was the man of the match by clear margin. Sorry. But I think there are a couple of other people that I think Dingwall he doesn't always seem to get the recognition that I think he's owed, considering of how much he does. I think his workload is insane. It's at such a high level. And I think it was noticed a lot more in that game on the telly, because he was obviously on the player mic. So they were showing sort of some of what he was doing, and you just realise how integral he is to certain plays and certain tries that are being scored.
Yeah, without doubt. Dingwall's performance is just so important. And I think that midfield connection between Finn Smith, Dingwall and Odendall and Sarries was the basis for that defence and how connected they were.
Yeah.
The big difference in the two teams' defences was Saints were just so switched on and so connected. They weren't trying to win things individually. It was a massive team effort, and it's the voice of Dingwall and the voice of Smith that knits it all together and keeps them all connected. And you don't have to, like, I know England were playing with a blitz defence in the World Cup, right? Oh, and there were Six Nations, but that's all well and good, but you don't need to do that to be dominant. If you have long spells of defensive pressure where you're just grudging a foot every time and you're just making the opposition run out of ideas, you're going to get the ball back. And if they're kicking to to Furbank, to Slight Home, to Ram, to Hendy, to whoever our back three is, Seabrook, etc., they're going to do damage. And the way our defence is set up under Radford this year has been phenomenal. It's just the mindset, and he's not in charge of line out defence or the breakdown defence, right? But clearly the mindset that he's bringing in has seeped into those things. Saracens scored a lot of tries from mauls, and they had opportunities on Friday, and never looked like scoring. The defence, the maul defence at the moment is just tremendous. I've said before, I think we're gonna miss Alex Moon so much. I think along with like the comment you made about Dingwall, I think Alex Moon does so much on the pitch that goes unrecognised. He's just sheer size of him makes the difference, but he gets through huge amounts of work. He has an impact both defensively and in offensively, but work at the maul is top notch as well. But yeah, I mean, we could go through the whole team. I think starting with the front row. Amazing. Front row. I mean, we know what Manny Hogan had for dinner. He had Riccioni on toast. He just dominated. I know got a few penalties here and there, but I thought he absolutely smashed him.
It was an odd. I will admit it was an odd scrum because it did feel like, and I know that Luke Pearce made a comment about this because I heard it on the ref mic, but it seemed to be that every time he was on whatever side, the issue was on the other side, and so it got missed, and so it literally was the penalty went whichever side of the scrum he was on dependent, because it felt like. It felt like a lottery. So, a penalty was awarded to Saracens, and then Iogan said, well, this is what happened on my side. So he goes on to Iogan and Riccioni's side, and then Iogan gets the penalty. And then a comment from the Saracens guy of like, oh, but this is what happened on my side. And poor Luke Pearce is like, well, I can't be on both sides. I can't be everywhere. This is probably going to happen. So I do still think we fronted up in the scrum, but it did feel a bit, the whole game, I'll be honest, felt a bit of a lottery in terms of refereeing decisions. I think Luke Pearce is one of the best, if not the best, in the country. I wouldn't say it was a vintage performance. I think a lot was missed both sides. I think we were clearly guilty of a couple of high tackles that got missed. They were guilty of some neck rolls that definitely got missed. I think Courtney was unlucky at the breakdown a minimum of 2 times that I can think of off the top of my head, where I think the decision was very minimal and potentially harsh. I think one time Alex Moon was clearly laying on the wrong side. I think that was the right decision. And then one time Courtney clearly has his hand on the ball, but Luke Pearce hasn't seen it. And then by the time he does see it, or it does get noticed, Courtney's gone off his feet, despite, in my opinion, being on the ball for long enough before. So it did feel a bit of a lottery. And I feel like both sides came out of that thinking like the decisions that should have gone our way perhaps didn't.
I agree, and I think the biggest issue is the consistency of it all. And it's Luke Pearce has been and has had some phenomenal games as referee. My sort of concerns with some of the things is where he sort of goes beyond his remit, in my view, of administering the rules of the game. The hurrying Finn Smith up when he's got 90 seconds to take a kick, hurrying him up and saying it's not within the spirit of the game. Well, who's making that decision? Why does he get to determine what the spirit, that sort of decision? That's not his place. They score 2 tries in the last minute, right? If Finn Smith kills off the clock, they don't do that. They don't get a bonus point. They're a further 0.5 behind us, right? So, and I know the intention, and I know it's not his job to create entertainment.
No, I think he's a big believer in speeding up the game. I'm a big believer. I actually think that Tom James originally really struggled with you must use it within the 5 seconds, but then he adapted. And I think in my mind, I think that's a rule that's needed to be enforced for a long time, because I hate watching the caterpillars. We all hate watching the caterpillars. It's ridiculous. But
to be taken away, it's the most annoying rule. When a player adds another player, then another player, so oh my god.
Yeah, so I do agree with that. I mean, and he was literally counting down in Tom James's face, and I think the charge down comes from that because he struggled to adapt initially. He did eventually, but he really did struggle to adapt. But the reality is, you now know every time Luke Pearce is reffing you, he will take it to literally 5 seconds and then he will turn over. But I agree. I think that if he's going to pay so much attention to that rule in terms of timings, to then completely disregard a different timings rule in a different way felt odd to me. Like, I understood his argument, right? I do understand the fact that, like, you are wasting time, you're running the clock down, it was right in front of the post. It's not that I don't understand the argument, it's just the rules are that he has 90 seconds to take the kick and there's nothing you can do about it if he decides to take it. If I was Finn Smith, I would have just said, I'm sorry, sir, but I'm gonna kick this when I'm ready to kick it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just think in that instance he's gone beyond his remit, and I think if you're going to be so hot, and he comes with this agenda of trying to speed up the game and being really on the 5 second rule, and I know that's something that's come down from above him, and he is buying into it more than any other referee. But then you've got to, if you're going to do that, you've got to be hot on everything else. You can't accept that McFarlane's halfway up the rack before the charge down, and you can't affect that. The time when he gives the free kick for going beyond the 5 seconds, McFarlane had just charged him down offside, come ahead of the offside line. So the first penalty's offside.
Yeah, it felt that first time, like I said, when it was a turnover, it felt like the only reason it took him 6 seconds is because McFarlane's gone early, and so he stopped. Because you would stop in that situation because you don't want to get charged down. You don't want to get exactly what actually happened later on in the game. So it did feel a bit.
I sort of think in his head he's going, oh, I'm looking at this 5 second rule. That's the rule I'm focusing on, and therefore I'm ignoring the bigger picture and seeing the fact that there's a penalty there if you're going to first.
Yeah, I think the problem was actually, when I. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, go.
I was going to say in the games that I. You go, Simon. You go.
I was going to say he did give him 2 chances though, because I remember on the ref link he said, "I give 7 seconds over there, and I give you 6 seconds there." So he did warn him plenty.
Oh,
100%. So he's got warning. So.
Yeah, no, I think the warnings were fair, and I think it's not the first time or the first game Luke Pearce has done that at the scrums or the rucks or whatever, the breakdown. It's not the first time he's enforced that rule. It's also not the first time I've heard him tell a player to kick it before their time was up. He has also done that before. So I think it's just one of those where, again, don't agree with it. I think if you've got 60 seconds, 90 seconds, whatever it is, whether it's a penalty or a conversion, you have the time that you have allotted. And I think in future, if you're Finn Smith, you just do what you, not to say, I don't ever like to say go against the ref, but in that situation, you do what you want to do, because there's actually nothing that Pearce can do within the rules to make you kick that ball. He can't penalise you. He can't free kick you. Like, you're still acting within the rules. So I think it's a learning curve for Finn Smith. We seem to think, he's put in incredible performances. He's still very young. That's still probably the first time that's happened to him, and he'll learn from it. And I could hear again on the ref mic that I don't know his name. I'm sorry to him out there, because he's always the one that brings on the tea. He wasn't impressed with it either, and you could clearly hear that on the ref mic, that he was like, but he has this time, sir. So I think it's something that he'll learn from in the future. I still think that, look, the charge down happened. It was the second charge down that we had 2, didn't we, in the game? I think.
Yeah.
Again, from Ram, though, I think Ram had a really great game, considering A, the game before, but B, the fact that the injury had him out for a really long time. It's a very serious injury. You're naturally going to have hesitancies of playing, and you're going to be rusty. And I think that was just a situation of he needed to get that ball away. It wasn't the wrong decision to try and kick it away. It's just, unfortunately, Ben Earl, the amazing player that he is, if we're being honest, just was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I think, Ram, like you said, Ram had a really good game all round. I think he'll come back. He's getting back to form, because I think there's levels for him still to come, because the levels he was showing before his injury were really outstanding. He has got the complete package. He's a phenomenal athlete, and as well as being a very talented, technically rugby player. So I think what his performance, and then I think if you tie that in with Odendale's performance, Odendale, there were a few handling issues, right, and a few bad decisions, but he was so solid defensively. And that Dingwall-Odendale partnership was incredible. It really, really made an impact defensively. It doesn't have the go over the game line attacking stuff that maybe other centres might carry, but the defence was outrageously good. But Furbank's going to come back into this side, right? So in my eyes, you have this split decision between Ram or Odendale, right? Because Furbank's going to play 15, and therefore, do you have Freeman at 13, Ram on the wing, or do you have Odendale at 13 and Freeman on the wing? Because Freeman's not getting dropped either. So it's the abundance of talent and options they've got now with players coming back from fitness is really. I mean, we'll get into it when we talk about the Munster game, but it really interesting. And I think Odendale was a player that was his best game he's ever had in my view.
I was going to say the same. Easily his best game in a Saint shirt. Because like I said, he joined mid-season, had an injury, so it was a long process for him to kind of get even into the team. But I think he's just improved week on week or performance on performance rather than week on week.
Up for pre-season, it was just he was already injured. He came back over from Japan and he just was already injured, so it just took him a while to get available. And it doesn't help when you've got Dingwall and Freeman and Hutchinson all playing so well for him. But he looked good. I haven't thought he's delivered as much as they expected him to. And I still don't think he's the silver bullet that sort of was promised, but I think he's it was really good. And
I mean, sometimes you don't need someone to come in really either as a silver bullet, as it were. You just need someone, because you're going to get injuries, you're going to have players going away. You just need someone that you can rely on to be solid at a bare minimum sometimes. Sometimes that's all you're asking from someone. And so if he's going to put in a performance like that each time he plays, I wouldn't have any worries or qualms about him coming into the side.
Yeah.
He's a big man. We haven't had a big man at centre for a few years now. So
Jimmy Down, Luther Burrell.
Exactly.
But
since then.
He is big.
Yeah, I think going back to James, I thought James was a real difference maker from the Bristol game. He's just his experience and his ability. I mean, I don't think many players have got a bullet pass like him or a left boot like he has. Some of
when I watch him, I'm gonna say when you watch him warm up, I don't think I've ever seen a 9 kick a ball so high in my life. It's ridiculous, like the insane height he gets on the ball. And I think you take the charge down out of it, which I think again was just him adapting to what the gameplay was going to be in that particular game and like the rules and the 5 seconds and things. I think he was incredible. And I actually think that when you've got Alex Mitchell coming off of a wrist injury, we still don't know. I know he said there was touch and go, but there's a potential that he may not even start. I think he'll be in the team if he's fit, but there is a thing of like, do you even start Alex Mitchell necessarily when you've got Tom James, especially as he's coming back from an injury? And I still think Alex Mitchell is our best 9. I think he's the best 9 in the country comfortably. But I think if you've got someone coming back from an injury, if we had to start on Sunday with Tom James, I wouldn't panic or worry.
Yeah, I think James is just an all-round talented player. I mean, he's got the pass, and he's got that. He plays with good tempo, right? So that's the basics that you need. He then has a very good kicking game, so that's box 2 sort of ticked. His support play is pretty good. It's not Comus Ryan at good, but it's pretty good. How often does he pick up the inside balls through the middle of the pitch and keep the play going? What is probably the only difference I really think between him and Mitchell is Mitchell has that stardust of those breaks. He has a bit more pace. The fact that he can take it to the line, and if an outside defender goes to the outside man, he can hit that gap and run around the corner and make a break. James hasn't quite got that turn of pace, but his fundamentals of his delivery excellent, kicking game excellent, management of the game is really good, and he's a solid defender and good support player. I don't think we lose X factor, but we don't lose a lot of core skills by having James in there. And he's an experienced player. He's been around the block, and I think he's a tremendous deputy for Mitchell. I think that we saw in the Bristol game the drop off from those two is quite a bit, but if we've got one of the 9. I think we can function as a side quite well. What do you think about the forwards then? Who do you think shone out from the forwards for you, Simon?
Oh, Trevor Davison again, man, what a player that is one of the best we've made, and the pace against he gets around the park. I can't remember what game it was. Sale, where he ran about 30 meters to run down and get a ball. Yeah,
I remember. I remember tweeting after he did that. After he ran back to get the ball and then just ducked under the player. I was like, that's one of the best things I've ever seen from anyone ever.
Stormers, wasn't it?
That was it. Sorry. It was incredible.
Yeah,
what a player.
To play full 80 minutes as a tight head's got some go in at that level of game, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's probably why Paul Hill's probably leaving, because he doesn't get a sniff now, does he, Gussie?
Yeah, Davidson's nailed down that slot pretty significantly. Yeah. He's a different type of player, Tilly, but yeah, like I said, the whole front row. I mean, Curtis Langdon's carrying.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. I thought he played out of this world. I thought he was ridiculous.
He also been off. Yeah. In the Tom James quick tap. Sorry, Sam.
I was just saying, considering he hasn't played for 10 weeks because of his ban. He wasn't allowed to play.
Yeah.
And you could just see him and Sam. We've probably got two of the best hookers in the Premiership.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, that
different gravy, I swear.
The Tom James quick tap and break. So he breaks through and offloads to Curtis Langdon, and then it's basically almost him and George next to each other on the pitch, running backwards, and he just absolute scorches him. He's running through treacle, and they've both been on the same pitch at the same time, and he absolutely turned at pace, phenomenal, and he's got good footwork, and his attitude's bang on. He's great. So I think he might be signed. I know Davison we signed the season before, so we don't include him, but he might be our signing of the season. Curtis Langdon.
I probably agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I know I said it before. I think the balance between Moon and Coles was just demonstrated so well in that game. Moon gets through the work. He makes the impact both sides of the ball, disrupts, and he has a huge impact on the game. And it allows Coles to just sort of play almost like a sort of old school six and sort of float around a bit and get on the ends of things. And his support play for a lock is not normal. You don't get locks who sort of run those supporting lines and find them on the ends of offloads and stuff. He went really well. Pearson again, quality.
I was about to say it's good to see him back. Yeah. But man, he was absolutely empty at about 70 minutes. You see him running up, but he gave every.
I think everyone was, weren't they?
Well, that boy is class. What kind he is as well.
Yeah,
I think we should. Definitely as well finish this section with just a word about Courtney, because obviously he was captain, and the guy's just everywhere, constantly, all the time. Like there's not enough words in the world to sum up how good it was. Like I said, I think he was unlucky with some of those decisions. I think he was everywhere in every single breakdown. That take he took where he's basically bent backwards over himself to catch the ball, absolutely insane.
Yeah. There isn't a skill that he isn't outstanding at. Like it's sort of almost back to the day when you had George Smith playing for the Brumbies and the Waratahs, Brumbies in Australia, where you literally would back him to play any position. Like if he was named at 10, you'd be like, yeah, he can probably do it. And whereas Courtney Laws, the amount of times he takes the ball at first receiver, looks at his options, and either goes, right, I'm going to bowl over him, or I'm going to put out a lovely soft ball around the back, or I'm going to blitz it through, across the oncoming. His decision making, his ability, he has just got better and better. He's going to be a huge loss at the end of the year. But what a player he is! Is it like there aren't many players ever to play the game that are as good as Courtney Laws?
Nope. No, I think he makes it. Yeah, I think he makes it into that top 5 of all time fairly comfortably, and that's again not any kind of disrespect to any others that are like in that kind of top of lists, but I think he's kind of comfortably in there. Just for longevity, it's not even just like how good he is, but it's how long he's been that good. Because sometimes with internationals you just get that inevitable drop off, and like sometimes it can be a very steep drop off, and I just think he's got better and better. Yes. I think it's been like the opposite for him. I think he's the best he's ever been right now, and so we're incredibly lucky I know obviously he's leaving at the end of the season to do his, pretty much like he said, his last contract before retiring. I think this season he's the best he's ever been, and we get him all the time. We know that we're going to have him all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I think we just need to cherish it, don't we, really?
Yeah, and it's just, we think about what's coming up next weekend. It's big to have someone like that still with us and playing that good.
Yeah, let's move on then from the Sarries games and start looking ahead to the Munster game. You know, like you say, when you've got someone like Courtney Lawes in your side, you sort of we could beat anyone. So Munster we beat them once this year at Thomond Park for the first time ever. We've beat them at the Gardens before. Shane Garrity's little quick tap and go in the corner. That was one of the great nights ever at the Gardens. But what are your thoughts? What do you think, Simon? What do you think what's going to happen next Sunday?
If we play like we played at Thomond Park, it's another. It could be anybody's because they're just full of internationals. But if we play like we played last week against Sarries, so you're struggling. I don't want to be too count my chickens before they've hatched, but it's going to be an epic day, trust me. If there's any atmosphere like it was that last one you mentioned with the Garrity try, that was one of the best nights of the Gardens I've ever been to. That was, and they always bring their fans in numbers, so the atmosphere should be epic. It'll be a proper Heineken, whatever you call it now, cup night, and it should be amazing.
Champions Cup, yeah. I mean, it's not night; it's midday Sunday.
Yeah. Lunchtime.
yeah. I mean, without doubt, the Irish are coming. Like you say, the Irish get into the ground and that they'll be loud. So it's a task for Saints fans to make sure that they counter that. I mean, Munster for me, like you say, they're full of internationals and they have got some.
They're aging,
they're not the side they were. You know, they are very much, you know, and going through that Munster side, I don't see any player. You know, and I have all the respect for Conor Murray and Kieran Crowley and Peter Mahanahan, but I don't see any of them getting into our side.
No.
I don't think Arnie probably. Just
instead of Courtney Lawes?
No.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
you've
the
got
one
an
thing that
Arnie,
stood
but
out.
we've got a Lawes, you know.
The one thing that stood out when we played Munster, other than Finn Smith again, out and out, best thing on the pitch that day, no question. But I think. You had, like I said, you had Lawes and you had Omani, and I remember seeing something on Twitter before about like it was kind of like a braggy tweet of like, yeah, you've got Courtney, but we've got Peter Omani, and like he's gonna, you know, stomp all over him. Courtney Lawes outplayed him in every single facet of the game from the second it started to the second it finished. It wasn't even a close contest. And again, that's no disrespect to Omani because he's also one of the best to ever do it. But I think you could even ask Munster fans, would you have Omani or Lawes? And I think you'd be getting some very honest Courtney Lawes answers out of them.
I think you'd ask Munster fans to their heart, they would 100% Omani. Just to their heart would make that decision. I think, to be fair, in that game at Thomond Park, Omani was a one-man side, to be honest. And when he went off, they didn't look like doing anything. I think his impact for them as a leader is massive.
Yeah, definitely.
But, you know, they have, and I think Crowley will have improved. I think the time he spent in as the Irish number 10 now, the fully established player, that can only make him a better player. So I wouldn't rule off Munster. I think they're going to come with a lot of experience and a lot of sort of know-how passed through the generations that club have had to win in Europe. But I don't. The style they play, I think we can counter. I think the threats that they have, I think we've got better threats. In going through selection, I think the team can be largely the same. I think Iogan, Langdon, and Davison is starting to settle itself down as an established front row.
Yeah.
And what with Waller off the bench and Matavesi off the bench adds a lot of impact. I thought Waller was really good at the week against when he came on as well. He just knows how to take it home. The second row partnership outstanding again. Moon and Cole's so balanced. I think that as a type 5, that would be my view. What do you think?
No, agreed. I think I'd be making very limited changes, and even then, the changes that I would make, I'm not even convinced that I would feel like I definitely had to do them. But yeah, I think you'd be very hard pressed to kick some people out. It's kind of the wrong term, but I think it'd be the performance last week. I think there's going to be tougher decisions than you think, even in positions where you think, oh, it's a really obvious choice. Is it necessarily? Because you're now looking at Furbank, for example, who hasn't played for a good few weeks at this point, would you start him over Ram? I'm not convinced. I know it's you obviously want to put your best team out there, and I'm not saying that you don't, but I'm just thinking that it's a European knockout. You lose, you're out. Like, it's not like you can pick anything back up in the following weeks. So I don't know. I think there's some harder questions there than you think. I think everyone would want to easily go, yeah, throw Furbank and throw Mitchell straight back in. And I'm not saying they would do a bad job by any stretch of the imagination, but you just think how long they've not played. They're both coming back from injuries.
Yeah,
maybe the bench is where they should be, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it depends.
When Ram got off injured, his leg, he looked like
He did
his
look-
by the bed.
Yeah.
But it's a long gap, isn't it? Friday to Sunday, and
yeah, they've got
you don't know. I mean, if he wasn't
hard
fit,
to
it
know.
makes a very easy decision. If he's not fit and Furbank's fit, then you just a straight swap. You go with the same. I think if Furbank's fit and everyone else is fit, I would, and he's fully available to play and fully firing, I would go with Furbank. I think he walks straight back into the side. I would go with Tommy Freeman at 13 just because I think he offers more of a threat. And want him on the ball as much as possible. He's our best attacking player in my view, and therefore I want him to see him touch the ball as much as often. So I'd have him at 13.
I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't pick Furbank. I'm just thinking that like it's probably a harder question than people are maybe assuming that it would be.
Odendale's performance against Sarries made it an incredibly difficult decision because he's so good. That's the difficult. That's why Dowson's in that role to make those decisions. But if Odendale hadn't had that performance, then it wouldn't have been even a question.
No.
I mean, then the halves. You imagine if Mitchell's fit, he'll be either starting or on the bench, and if James is available, then
Definitely.
I don't want worried. Back row is the toughest place to choose from. Laws is nailed on, right? He's starting at 6.
I would stick with the 6, 7, and 8 that we had. If I'm being honest, I think Augustus as well. We didn't speak that much about Augustus. Him and Graham they're kind of different. It depends what you want. I actually thought Augustus had a really great game, and I thought every time he had the ball, he was smashing his way through defenders. But again, it's what you want. It's the game plan that you want. Like we've had this discussion before about is it Graham or is it Augustus? And at one point it was so clearly Graham. But that's a difficult decision. I would personally leave all of that number 1 to 8 unchanged if it was me. But again, it's a tough touch and go call between certain people.
No, I agree. I think the impact Graham had off the bench though was phenomenal as well. So
exactly.
In my head, I would have gone with the ground specialist, in Graham, and then brought the impact of Augustus off the bench. But to be fair, the impact he had attacking the breakdown, winning turnovers, and carrying, Graham did a phenomenal job again. Having those two as options is just tremendous, and I think it says something that we are probably saying Pearson at 7 ahead of Ludlam, and Ludlam looked better, bit back to his best. He looked a bit better.
He looked better, yeah. I think there's still a way to go, but I do think he looked a lot better, a lot calmer in terms of he's not a calm player, right? He's not. He's very energetic, but calmer in terms of like confidence levels and getting out there and doing what he needed to do. Because I think the week before he was noticeably off the level that we come to expect. He's still not quite there, and I think that's why I would start with Pearson. But again, it's a tough call. It's a tough call because he's your club captain, right? He's still the club captain. That can't be underestimated in terms of how important that is. But I also think that we've just got so many leaders in that team. Like I said, if Furbank walks back into the team, he's the captain probably, because I think he's most likely going to be club captain next season, and I don't have a problem with that. If he's not fit and he doesn't come in, you've then got Courtney Laws as captain, and that man can do no wrong ever. So,
Yeah, I would agree. I'd keep with the team that batted against Sarries, if I'm honest, despite injury.
So you wouldn't bring Furbank in?
Oh, yeah, apart from injuries. If Ram, but I don't know. You don't know if he's fit, though, do we? We don't know how fit he is.
Yeah, we don't know a lot about Furbank either. Like you said, we don't know that much about Ram, but it's also it's a question mark over him too, isn't it? Yeah, I think I would start with Alex Mitchell if I had him. Again, and that's nothing against Tom James. I thought Tom James was great. I just think You need to put the best. I think you need to put the best that you've got out. It also depends how serious that wrist injury is and how much it affects his abilities, and whether it really does, because he did play a game for England with the wrist strapped up. So exactly. It's a question of how serious that is, because if you think about what Alex Mitchell brings, it's literally second to none. But then James put in such a good performance that I still wouldn't worry if you had to use James.
Yeah, I'm not too worried around either way. If Mitchell's available and he's fully fit and everything, then he obviously starts. He's our best nine. He's best nine in the country. But I also think from a tactical point of view, he offers an enormous amount off of the bench. I think if you think back to the Exeter game away from home, the impact he had off the bench then, you know, James is really solid and really technically good and does all the right things and brings the best out of the team. You know, his box kicking puts us in the right positions. His delivery gets the ball wider than the most nines in the league, and it allows us a platform to build on, right? So if you set that up, like we're going wide, I don't mean like we're going to the wing. I mean we're going 2 or 3 meters wider from the ruck at first delivery than most other sides, right? If we're doing that the whole way through the game with James, Mitchell comes on, bang, there's a gap.
Yeah,
there's an increase in tempo that he can add to the game, and there's going to be gaps that he can snipe. Alex Mitchell against tired forwards, that's just equals tries. So I think I more would be 100% say get Furbank straight back inside because of the vision and the pace that he brings there, and his extra distribution skills. But Mitchell, if he's not quite ready and he starts on the bench, I wouldn't be so worried.
I mean, I think if someone said like, you've got full choice of everybody, what would you do from 9 to 15? I think it's pretty clear that I'd have Mitchell. I mean, we don't really have much of a backup 10 really do, and again, that's nothing against Charlie Savala, but he's not there at the level. So it's obviously Finn Smith anyway. He's pretty much the one and only choice. And then if you had all the other backs available, I would do Slightholme at 11, Dingwall at 12, Freeman at 13, Ram at 14, and Furbank at 15.
Yeah, that's our best line in back line. I agree fully.
But like you said, if Furbank isn't fully fit or he's got to come off the bench, then you would go. You'd still go. You'd go Slightholme, wouldn't you? Then you'd have Dingwall, Odendahl, Freeman if you had to, and then Ram at 15. I think both of those lines will handle Munster. I think it's a difficult one, being because we are out and out favourites. I don't even think there's a question mark that we're out and out favourites, but at the same time, it's Europe. Anything can happen. It's knockout. Exactly. That's a whole different complexion on a game. But I think if you had everyone available, I agree with you, Charles. I think our best backline is Slightholme, Dingwall, Freeman, Ram, and then Furbank back in at the back.
Yeah, interesting. We'll have to wait and see as to what the coaches pick and who's available. But it's very exciting looking ahead. Before we discuss prediction in terms of outcome and scores, just a bit of news today coming out about Paul Hill.
Yeah,
he is leaving the club at the end of the season to join Edinburgh, which he says is a fantastic opportunity for him and his family. But he has a big note on him saying he's played 180 odd times for the club in over 9 years, from a boy to man, really, and great character. Donkey in the Panto and Quizmaster and all the rest of things. But what a player. He's probably leaving on very good terms.
It sounds like it from what I've seen on social media as well. Not that any players are going to outwardly act negatively, but you can see on kind of Instagram stories and things like there's a lot of respect for him, and a lot of people being very clear that like they'll miss him and that he is a character. I know that whenever you ask anyone who's the weirdest guy in camp, it's always Paul Hill, but they say it in a nice way, not like he's really weird, we don't associate. Like they clearly love him and he clearly loved being here. I just think it's the perfect move for him at the perfect time, if we're being honest. I still think it requires that we need to do some prop shopping, just to bolster, particularly on that side of the scrum, because outside of Davison, it was pretty much Davison and Hill, wasn't it? Really,
Miller Mills.
Yeah. But I still think that we need kind of a third.
No,
a third essentially, because we just don't know what's going to happen.
with the Wallers and Hilly leaving, it essentially leaves them with 2 props in each side of the scrum.
And I don't think that's workable.
No, it's just not workable. You're one down and you can't fulfill a fixture, sort of thing, almost. So I think, even though with Prowse and other players around, sort of thing, I think they're definitely they'll be looking, and I imagine there's Paul Hill was a tight head, an international tight head, whatever, but he's a very, very different player and you can tell his body shape compared to Davison, Elliot Miller-Mills. They're much more solid scrum focused tight heads, whereas Paul Hill's running it in from 50 against Tigers.
I'm literally going to say his running game, man. He should have been on the wing years ago, I reckon. And he's got some incredible speed in him.
Manny was doing it really well against Sarries. He's stepping that first receiver of that pod and then popping it out the back. And Hill does that exceptionally well when he plays as well. He's just a different beast, and he'll suit a different style. It's just the way that Saints have moved under Ferguson is to have that sort of Davison, Elliot Miller-Mills type of tight head.
Like I said, he's been here for 9 years. He's given us a lot, and we're incredibly grateful to him for that. I think he's been, like I said, he's been a really great character, really great player. And I can't sense any animosity. I don't see why there would be anyway. But like I said, it's the perfect move at the perfect time because, and it's not through any fault of his own, but Trevor Davison's out and out the first choice. And so you have to question at what point, Paul Hill's not at the beginning of his career by any stretch of the imagination. So, if Edinburgh's going to give him starting opportunities again, of course he's going to take that, and completely understandable. And I think he'll leave on great terms as someone who everybody seems to like and respect. Yeah,
I really hope a change is as good as a sort of rest for him, and he has that sort of resurgence in his career again and goes well at Edinburgh, because it probably has happened. He should have probably moved on a year ago for his own career, even though it's great to have him. And he's Exeter this year, he was phenomenal, put an absolute outstanding performance in. So he's still got a lot to offer. So it's a shame to him, but he's probably making the right decision.
The right call, yeah. Agreed.
Big character going there, isn't he? Because he's one of the jokers in the pack that does all the practical jokes on all the squad.
Well,
So that's a big loss for them.
Yeah, because I think that's the same a bit with Ethan Waller, isn't it? It's like it's the character of the person that's going sometimes more so necessarily than the player, as it were. Although I think, like you said, I think Ethan and Alex are going to stay around the area, so you're probably still going to see them. But Paul Hill's jetting off to a different country, it's going to be a different.
Yeah. I think there's the squad that we have to win it. I've said it before. We have to win something this year because the squad next year is going to be very different.
Yeah, and I think we're still going to have a really good core group of players, but like you said, it's a transition period, and you never know how that's going to go. Yeah. So we've got our choices this year.
Leadership, Ludlam, Laws, Waller, Hill.
Yeah, exactly. So, got to get it done this year. What do we think? What do we think about next week then? Prediction time.
Prediction Sunday. Midday.
Sunday. Yeah.
Munster. Scores on the doors. Come on, what we got?
Oh. I want to say that I feel like my heart's saying a big win, right? But it's Europe and anything can happen. So I'm going to stick fairly close. I'm going to say Saints 27, Munster 21. I'm going to go the 6 point. I'm going to keep it close just because I think Munster are also going to be carrying a lot of you beat us at our home and we want to give that back to you. But I do also think, like you said, they're not quite at the top of their game as we're used to seeing. And we think about the Premiership, we literally are at the top at the top. So I think we'll win. Like I said, Heart's hoping for a nice, good, big victory, but brains saying close. But I don't know.
What do you reckon?
Notoriously awful at predictions. So
yeah, so am I. I hate predicting my own team. I'll go 30-18 to Saints.
So you're going a bit further away, yeah.
Bit bigger.
Yeah.
What about you, Charles?
Yeah, I think
just after that's all. They'll be on a high after beating Sarries the way they did, because that scoreline does not reflect the actual game.
No, yeah,
they
agreed.
Dominated that should have been a massive gap. So I think they'll use that, fire themselves up. It's Europe. I think we should win by a couple of tries at least, I reckon.
And finish up with your prediction then, Charles.
Well, I think it'll be tight the first half. I think it'll be cagey. I think a lot of nerves around the young side. They've not performed on that level in domestic rugby really before, other than obviously the few of them. So I'm going to say, at half time, it's going to be very close, 16-all. And I think second half, though, once a few wise words have been said at half time, it will roll away from them. I think we'll double 32-16 second half.
Okay, nice.
I think it'll be tough.
I'm going close. I'm going close. Charles is going big, and so Simon, you're in the middle somewhere. Well, we'll see next week when we come back to you next week. We'll see who it was. Who was
exactly. Thanks very much for listening, everyone. It's been really, really great chat with the two of you. We will see you next week. Remember to subscribe, follow on all our socials, give us a listen, give us some feedback, and fantastic.